The Cold War wasn't a traditional war with bullets and bombs. It was a global power struggle that lasted over 4 decades. It pitted the capitalist United States against the communist Soviet Union in a battle of ideology, influence, and innovation. Though they never fought directly, their rivalry touched every corner of the world, shaping modern politics, technology, and culture. After World War II ended in 1945, the world was left in ruins. The USA emerged powerful and wealthy, while the USSR controlled much of Eastern Europe. Both wanted to spread their values. The US championed freedom and democracy, while the Soviets pushed socialism and control. When Winston Churchill gave his famous Iron Curtain speech in 1946, it was clear: Europe was divided. Western nations formed NATO, and the USSR responded with the Warsaw Pact. The world was splitting in two. Berlin became ground zero in this cold conflict. In 1948, Stalin tried to force the Allies out of West Berlin by cutting off all roads, railways, and canals. In response, the West launched the Berlin Airlift, flying in supplies around the clock. Over 200,000 flights in 1 year. West Berliners survived thanks to chocolate bars, coal, and courage dropped from the sky. Stalin eventually gave up, and the world saw the power of unity and determination. Both nations raced to build nuclear weapons. The US dropped atomic bombs on Japan in 1945. But by 1949, the Soviets had their own bomb. This began a dangerous game of one-upmanship. More bombs, bigger bombs, faster missiles. By the 1960s, both sides had enough firepower to destroy the planet many times over. This led to a chilling doctrine called mutually assured destruction. If one side launched, both would perish. Ironically, the fear of total destruction helped prevent a direct war. In 1957, the USSR launched Sputnik, the world's first satellite. It shocked America. The race for space became a symbol of national pride and technological power. The US formed NASA, poured money into science and education, and in 1969, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. The space race wasn't just about rockets. It was about showing the world who was ahead. Though competitive, it also led to incredible breakthroughs in science and global communication. The Cold War nearly turned hot in October 1962. The USSR secretly placed nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from the US coast. American spy planes spotted the silos, and President John F. Kennedy ordered a naval blockade. For 13 terrifying days, the world teetered on the edge of nuclear war. In the end, diplomacy prevailed. Khrushchev agreed to remove the missiles if the US promised not to invade Cuba, and secretly removed US missiles from Turkey. It was the closest we ever came to World War III. Although the US and USSR never fought directly, they supported opposing sides in several wars. These were called proxy wars. In Korea, the North was backed by China and the Soviets, the South by the US. The result? A divided country that remains split to this day. In Vietnam, the US tried to stop communism from spreading, but faced a brutal war they eventually lost. In Afghanistan, the Soviets invaded in 1979. America supported Afghan fighters. That conflict helped drain Soviet power. These wars claimed millions of lives and showed that Cold War ideology could be deadly. The Cold War wasn't just about weapons. It was a war of information. Spies like the CIA and KGB operated in the shadows, stealing secrets, tapping phones, and turning allies into traitors. Propaganda was everywhere, from posters to movies to school books. Each side portrayed the other as evil, using media to shape how their people thought. Even chess matches, Olympic Games, and ballet tours became battlegrounds for cultural superiority. By the 1980s, the Soviet economy was in trouble. Their system was failing, while Western countries grew richer and freer. Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev introduced reforms like glasnost openness and perestroika restructuring. Then, in 1989, the unthinkable happened. Citizens in East Berlin began tearing down the Berlin Wall. It was a powerful moment of unity and freedom. Within months, communism collapsed across Eastern Europe. On December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union officially dissolved. 15 new countries emerged. The Cold War was over. There was no parade, no surrender, just a quiet end to decades of tension. The United States remained the world's lone superpower. The Cold War shaped our alliances, our weapons, and even our technology. Today, groups like NATO still exist. Former Soviet countries are independent. Tensions still rise now and then. But the lessons of the Cold War remind us, dialogue is powerful. Fear can lead to peace. And history, if we're not careful, can repeat.